organization all weekend, moving from one project to the other, project inspection. And so he just came back from an award he had, and on getting to the airport, he moved straight to the project site to go and inspect project, because they realized that the infrastructure is very, very key, for economic growth. So as a result of that, the state government and the team are working tirelessly to provide this infrastructure. If they don't have that allocation, to capital, project, they won't be, doing all this work we're doing. If you look at the recurrent expenditure and the capital expenditure in River State, you see that it is in favor of capital expenditure. So that's why you see that, constructions are going on. And you recall that Budget IT did something recently, and they use the same methodology for all the states, to look at how the states will be able to pay their outstanding bills. They started by looking at how the state can use their revenue to, take care of their, recurrent expenditure and what will be left. And you find out that the ratio, when people were comparing River State and Lagos, it's not that we generate more revenue than Lagos. But if you look at the ratio of our recurrent expenditure to that of, to the revenue, you'll find out that we are better in terms of position. Let me give you an example. Lagos State, we hear in the last budget, the total debt stock is about 734 billion. And then they are generating about 300 and something billion. If you divide 743 billion by 300 billion, you find out that the ratio, will be in favor of the debt. So which means that the debt burden is more on the revenue. But that of River State, if you look at 141, billion as a total debt stock, divide it by, the average revenue of 192, you will find out that the debt burden is less. So 1 to 1, you see that River State, in terms of this ratio, is able to take care of, its expenses and pay their bills, much more than, Lagos State, looking at that ratio. That's why River State was placed, number 1 before, Lagos State. So what we're saying in essence is that once you realize the peculiar nature of your state, and this is what you need to drive, development and growth, you make sure that you provide those things that will enable, business to grow. That is what is happening in River State.
But do we have enough focus on some of those states too? Because there are questions about their state houses of assembly being more or less rubber stamp. They don't hold the executive accountable enough such that they could ask questions of the executive if they feel some of those budgetary provisions have not been judiciously utilized. And so they think that the states seem to be getting away with quote-unquote murder.
Well, for me, I'm not a member of House of Assembly.
No, we're looking at a broad picture.
Yes, and I'm also not a member of National Assembly.
But you observe and see what goes on.
Yes, we try and to observe. But what I've noticed in, particularly where I come from, I think they are following, due process in governance, because it is very, very important. Even I know that the law also permits the River State government, the governor, except to award, at least 30% of, to implement 30% of the budget before it is finally approved. But sometimes when I queried about it, they say, look, even when the state governor goes ahead to do that, he also, refer whoever is to do any job to, the due process. That's the Bureau of Public Procurement, to look at, the cost of the project and ensure that the price at which the contract is finally awarded is the one given by Bureau of Public Procurement. And luckily, I chair that board. We don't involve in the day-to-day running, but my DG briefed me on what happens. Even when governor has that power, to award contract to a particular vendor, he can identify the vendor, but the final amount that contract will be awarded must be in consonant with the Bureau of Public Procurement.
But even though that Competitiveness Council, when it looks at Lagos, Delta, Rivers, in terms of how they seem to perform using several indices, but that those who still say, while they still hope that they implement their budgets have more of capital expenditure and recurrent expenditure, some still think the job creation component or initiative or drive, they still are doing far less than is expected of those key states.
You see, the problem is that we misunderstand what job creation is. Some people think that job creation is just giving money to people. It's not. or giving seed money to people to go and do around. Once you provide the enabling environment for business to thrive, job will be created. Like, apart from the direct job that will be created from the provision of the infrastructure, because if you're doing construction, definitely you're going to employ people. Apart from that, once the infrastructure is provided, people that are using it will, employ people. Assuming that I'm involved in trading and I stay somewhere around Port Harcourt, and my goods, I get them from the village.
Okay, Prof, I had to interrupt, but we need to go to break. Okay. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back, Prof. Tell us now some of the key components that people ought to be concerned about, and tell us whether we should or not. Inflation rates, double digit. Interest rates, double digit. Yeah. So can we actually achieve the 3.5% target of growth rate with these two key items still at double digit?
No, basically that is not possible. What are you going to do between now and the end of 2018 that will help you achieve, that growth rate of 3.5%? You know that Nigeria barely came out of recession with annual growth rate of 0.5%. And this is a country that the level of production is very low. You and I know that the only thing that can generate real growth is the production of output of goods and services. The economy itself is a network of production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. So when you don't do that, how are you going to generate the necessary growth?
Connected to the states, no matter how well the state's budgets are funded, can they achieve?
No, for sure. If the state components are doing what they are doing to provide the basic infrastructures, that's business people within the state can come up. But what I'm saying is that this our level of growth is a mirage we're talking about. You and I know that interest rate is still double digit in this country, so investors cannot really borrow properly to invest in order to grow. You can go to China and get money at interest rate of 1%. You come here and invest it and get about 16% profit. So the issue is that interest rate is still very high in this country, so it is difficult for people to borrow and invest in this country. These are some of the things that will generate production, and those enabling environments are actually not there. Because exchange rate too, you look at the level of exchange rate, it's very high. In the budget, what they have projected is about 305 naira per dollar. But you and I know that it's about 360 something now. What magic are we going to do?
I'm sorry, Prof, let me just bring this in.
The rate of your exchange rate depends on what you can produce and sell to the rest of the world.
Let me just stop this because tell us about this because from your business school component. Now, if governments, different states, federal level, they come up with budgets year on year, and then some of the challenges you've identified. So do you in any way study those budgets and then ask, what protectionist policies do we have to ensure that companies in this country are not disadvantaged compared to the ones who can get loans at far less single digits and bring it to this country?
You know that whatever thing you do at the state level, you're also influenced by whatever policies that is reached at the state level. You know that, take for instance, interest rate is something that is determined by the monetary committee. When CBN meets, the monetary committee meets, they determine what the level of a minimum this country will be, and then banks will now queue up and charge their different interest rates. So until government begin to take serious drastic measure to say that we must reduce interest rate to the barest minimum, that will now enable businessmen to get funds at affordable rate and then invest, and that will increase production in the system.
Well, to anchor the point, Professor Onuchukwu is a professor of economics. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
That's the show as well today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain Osal.
Thanks for watching. I'm Gimba Umar.
Oh, very vibrant Twitter today. Thank you for your contributions. Ogun.